So we are live, and we are opening today the 5th season of Conscious Aging. And we are talking immediately about a big topic which we hope to avoid in our lives, and that is dementia. But before we talk about it, we do a short introduction. I'm Heidi Hörnlein, and I'm the co-founder of the wisdomfactory.net, and I'm in Italy. And now, as Mark is not here anymore, my co-host for these seasons, for these sessions, is Martin Ocik, and he is in Turkey. Say hello for a moment.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world.
Yeah. And our guest today is Bettina Wichers. She is in Germany. Say hello, Bettina.
Hello.
Good. We are all three Germans, but we will try to present what we want to talk about in English. And maybe in a second time, we will also do a similar conversation in German. We are talking about Dementia Integral. That means, how can we see this? I'm sorry, I have this cap here. Come on, go down. Dementia from an integral perspective, and how can it also be treated in a different way than normally. But before we do that, I would ask Bettina to introduce herself a little bit. She is a gerontologist, but she is much more and has done many things. And maybe you start talking about what your background is in aging and then in dementia.
Okay. Yes, I'm involved in the field of aging for a very long time. I studied educational science first here at the university in Göttingen, and worked in the field of adult education. I trained nurses first. It was one of my first jobs, nurses for the care of the elderly. And that was at a time where dementia wasn't such a big topic in even in the education for these nurses. And I was surprised when I learned that most of the people in the nursing homes are experiencing something like dementia. That was I started in this field in 1997. And then I learned on my own more and more about that field, and came to the point that I said, okay, I have to learn more. And then I went back to the university. First, I tried to study public health, but it was not possible with my child at that time. And then some years later, I went to the University of Erlangen and studied gerontology as a master's study there. And in the meantime, I met the integral theory. I read the first books from Ken Wilber, I think about 2002. And yeah, when I saw the quadrant model, it was at that moment clear that I have to do research on dementia with this model, and I continued that until I wrote my master thesis about an integral draft of an integral concept of dementia, and it went on since then. So I'm now adult. I work in the adult education and as a gerontologist, consultant and supervisor. Yeah. Your mic?
Yeah, I'm muted. I'm still trying to do some technical thing, because I see it's not yet streaming on the website.
I'm completely clueless. What is your master's in?
My master?
What is that word? Giantologist?
Gerontologist, gerontology.
What is that? I have no idea.
it's a science of aging.
Oh,
Yes.
I didn't know there is a science about that.
Yes, gerontology is in Germany, I think, since for 40 years now. You can study it, and it becomes more and more popular and necessary.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, thank you.
But most people don't know what a gerontologist is.
Okay, you're cutting me some slack. That's nice.
Yeah.
And that includes the whole body, I assume, or only the brain?
No. It's a biopsychosocial concept. It's interdisciplinary study.
I see. Hence the 4 quadrants.
Yes, it was. It seems so natural. Sometimes I don't understand why not every gerontologist works with this model, because it fits perfect. Yeah, the quadrant model, and then later it came the stages models like spirodynamics, who are very fine. Yeah.
But on the physical level, and in the upper right, it's not only the brain that you study, but also the whole body aging,
yes.
Yes, okay.
And behavior. It's more complete. Yes, not the brain. No. That's more than neurologists and no. Yes.
Yeah.
But there's a gerontopsychiatrist or something else. A lot of specialized jobs and studies and fields.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm eager to learn more about dementia, and I'm 61 now, and of course, younger people, they also forget words, but whenever I forget a word, it's really when I give talks and I'm looking for a word that's obviously simple. I know I always can recall it easily, and it just doesn't come, right? And there's immediately this thought, oh my God, is that the beginning? And I think a lot of people have these concerns, especially when they get older.
Yes. And there are a lot of questions about that, but that is it is not necessary to be concerned about that. It's often when we are stressed, when there's too much in our brain, still too many thoughts, and you don't have to be worried if you forget something. I mostly don't recognize names in the first moment. I need mostly some seconds and think, oh my goodness. And sometimes I'm very nervous about that too. But I know that I had it with 25 too. So it's aging with me.
Yeah.
I think it's not a part of dementia. It could be later, yes, of course, if it becomes more and more worse. But
Yeah,
what is a sign for dementia? What can you give some hints?
If you forget about that, what happened just some minutes ago. The short term memory, it's going. You lose that first. In most cases, there are several types of dementia. Alzheimer is the most known, but there is frontotemporal dementia and Lewy body dementia and vascular dementia and several other forms. But these are the most common forms for Alzheimer disease, frontotemporal dementia, Lewy body dementia, and vascular dementia. And for most of them, the short-term memory goes first, and the orientation in time, that you don't, you are not sure if you had breakfast that morning, or when you have called to your friend last time, and this is the first signs. And then when you are losing more and more their orientation in the space if you get lost on the way home. And
that seems to be quite heavy already, no? When you get lost or not?
Yes, yeah, but yes, that is an important sign. If it comes to this, and then there are four dimensions of orientation: first time, then space, then situation, and at least the own person. Who am I? That goes.
So you have experience with how this normally is seen and treated. Can you say that a little bit? And then maybe we go over what is different when you see it from an integral perspective.
Okay, yeah. I don't know if I can differentiate. We normally dementia is known as a disease of the brain. Most people think it's a disease of the brain, and it's a manifest thing. There's something nobody knows really the reasons except of vascular dementia. That's something like heart diseases and so on, the causes. But most people and most scientists see it as a disease of the brain, and that is the main research in this field. We're looking into the disease, pathology, what happens there. There's a lot of research they have stopped. A lot of research has been stopped recently because after 25 years, research around some kinds of pathology, the big pharma companies have stopped their research because they don't get it. It's not helpful, and they don't earn the money they expected. And yes, and it's a disease of the brain, and it's a disease of behavior. First, we recognize the behavior.
Yeah, and this is different.
I didn't understand you. Sorry, Heidi. I hadn't got your question.
Okay, I said, and this is different when you think about a disease of behavior. That's not anymore the how do you say, the traditional thing, isn't it? Because you already include a different modality.
I don't know, but what do you mean?
You said it is also a disease of behavior and not only the brain. So I concluded what you said, that the pharma industry doesn't do the research anymore because they didn't go on with the brain hypothesis. So I don't know. It's more.
No. That always went together. That's both. It's known as a disease of the brain, and the disease it is shown in behavior. So
okay.
yeah, it goes along, and yeah.
Okay, I understood it differently, so it's okay. Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah.
What you also said about the vascular thing, you said that is in the heart, that has to do with the heart. And the body, is it, I have no idea, so I ask what I get. So do you also forget how to walk? Do you forget how to move your body?
At the end.
Okay.
There's some stages. We have stages even in dementia. As an integral informed person, you often always work with stages, and you have stages of the dementia process too. And there's a mild form, an early form. We have there's the pre-form, mild cognitive impairment. It's not dementia, but it's pre-form. And then we have the early onset dementia, where the person is changing between this what we call our reality and their own reality, which is mostly somewhere in their history, in the past. and they are changing. Somewhere they're orientated in our time or in our reality, and then they are switching back to somewhere in their own past, but they experience their past as the moment, and then comes it to the point that they come in the middle stage dementia, and that is that changes when they don't come back in our reality. Then they stay in the past. They stay in the past, and they live. Often they live quite a while in this stage, and then they're losing more and more. They can't move anymore, and they're becoming incontinent. Now that comes very early, and so such signs, some such symptoms are coming, and then it comes to a late stage dementia where they're totally immobility.
Okay, thank you for the explanation. So, how it is normally treated? Let's go first into that, and then we go into what is in. How do you see it in Integral? With Integral means.
Can I have a quick question? I don't know if this is a joke or somehow related to what you said, but I think somebody said first other people notice that somebody becomes dement, and then the afflicted person, him or herself, realizes they become dement, and then in the end stadium, the other people again only notice it and not the afflicted person.
I think it's a question of self-consciousness.
So even somebody who mostly lives in the past can be aware that they live in the past?
The people in early onset dementia mostly know what's happening, and that is the most difficult stage for them. If you switch and you recognize what's happening, in the moment you live in the past, you don't recognize, but when you come back, you recognize that something is strange, that they experience, and there's a lot of shame around that, but that starts earlier. Some people recognize it very, very early, and that's what I mean with it's a question of self-consciousness. How much more you are aware for your inner processes and so on. So I think we will experience it earlier, and some people who don't use a lot of techniques in self-reflection, they recognize, and they can put it away for a long time, and then it's mostly the family, I suppose, and something else, someone else who recognize it, and it's a difficult stadium for the families.
So is there any research if mindfulness or meditation practices have an impact on staying longer aware that someone has dementia?
We jump to the end. Yes and no. There are some. There's a lot of research, and there's some interesting studies. The Bredesen protocol, who said it's a researcher who says he has cured people with early onset dementia by practicing transcendental meditation. So. And I believe that, I can imagine, but it's a question if you can treat the X million people in the world with transcendental meditation, if they're not aware to very easier things like healthy lifestyle. So, and if it's a good treatment for everyone, I don't know. And I know that there are very experienced meditators, very spiritual persons, very self-reflected persons who are going the dementia way at the moment. So
I was not so much thinking about that it would prevent dementia, but that people can stay longer aware and not go into that state that you described where they only live in the past.
Yeah, that's interesting. I will find more people who are experiencing. I'm interested in meeting integral informed people experiencing dementia and can talk with them and can be with them for a while, and that would be very interesting. I didn't found anyone until today. So
okay.
yeah, and this is, but I know there's I was in Suffolk last year at the Integral European Conference and talked there. I had a short presentation about that. There weren't so many people, but after that there came a lot of them and talked with me privately, and there are a lot of concerns in the integral community about that, and there's a interest in doing more research about that. How can we, what will we do when there are people with an on the integral stages or higher, when they will experience dementia? But what will happen? How can we care for them, because they will be, can they go into a regular residential care unit? That there will, I think that will be questioned in the future, and I'm continuing my own integral research at the moment with a stages model of Terry-O'Fallon. I try to differentiate dementia, the types of dementia and the type of awareness of dementia in the stages models, and that's very interesting for me at the moment, and hope that there will be more. I will do some sentence completion tests, so there are some ideas, but I need time for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Over to you, Heidi.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is we are talking already about dementia. Let's start a little bit before we go maybe into the theory of integral. Is there a way to prevent it? I heard you saying lifestyle.
There's no guarantee, but and most people ask that, if what can I do to prevent it? And yes, healthy lifestyle is the only thing you can do. Control your blood pressure is the first thing. It's the most important thing we can say at the moment, very, very, very clearly. Control your blood pressure and sleep enough.
Control your blood pressure means high blood pressure is creating?
High.
Okay.
High blood pressure and diabetes. That are the most highly risk potential for vascular dementia. And it's, yes, it will, it seems to be that there is an impact on the other forms of dementia too. Yes.
Yeah, it's a little bit scary, no? When you think you don't know when the bomb explodes and you begin to forget the things. Yeah.
So what about exercise and social interactions? I heard these are two factors for Alzheimer's, at least.
Let me just for one moment, that's the typical thing when I talk with integral informed people, persons about dementia, that we always talk about the upper right quadrant on a manifest level. That's very interesting. We're always interested. We can be very highly reflected and so on, and spiritual informed, but we're first all interested in the upper right quadrant on a manifest level. What can I do? That's very, very, it's always the same. And that's
well, we already talked about meditation, sorry, which is the upper left.
But it's what can I do? What can I eat? That is for most people the first the most important question.
And but this is what we are used to, no? Medicine, illnesses are always seen like that.
Yes, I think it's human. It's totally okay. But for reflecting our own strategies, even if we say, oh, I'm integral informed, I know 4 quadrants, 8 zones, and the subtle level and the causal level, and we first.
Well, I also asked about social interactions, and they're in the lower left. So we already covered 3 quadrants.
Yes. But yes, you can do blood pressure and diabetes, and that controlling both very well. And then yes, exercising, running, walking daily, and Yes, there's a lot of things you should eat, berries and nuts at the first time, and then there are so different Forschungsergebnisse. Help me.
Results of
Research,
the research.
yes.
Research results.
What you should eat, if alcohol is good or is bad, if you should drink nothing or should drink 1 glass of wine a day or 1 a week, or
so that's not really reliable.
No. What seems to be really helpful is mostly vegetarian diet, but mostly, not always. You need fish, you need sometimes meat, and nuts and berries. That seemed apple juice, orange juice, fruits and vegetables.
So let's go into the question of Martin, the social interaction. I mean, people who have to do with dementia persons, no? I remember one very old aunt of mine. She was already 100 and she couldn't remember that 2 minutes before we already talked about what she was asking again. So when you have that every day, it's for the person who is not dement, it's quite a challenge.
Yes, and it's a higher risk experiencing dementia by your own if you care for a person, for a relative with dementia for a longer time.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes.
Tell me why.
I presume the stress. I don't remember the research so well, but it's a lack of sleep over years normally, because you are awake. It's more stressful than caring for a newborn, because that ends. The baby is a point where the baby will sleep the whole night, or just comes once a night. And with a relative with dementia, it becomes more and more worse. Sometimes you wake up every hour, and this over years. And then the same is the whole day. You have to care 24 hours a day for a person who was your wife, your husband, and you have to for sometimes it's said they're dying twice.
Yeah, I do understand that.
But it's a stress of the care. It's suspected as at the cause of the illness later. Yeah.
And what about the prevention level, or at least delaying the onset of dementia? Do we know what role social interactions play in that?
Yes,
I lived kind of like as a hermit for a few years, and not that I felt that I become more dement, but I definitely noticed how that had an impact on my state of mind. Let's.
Yes, I thought about that, because I lived like that the last 4 months. I enjoyed it very much, because it was the first time for me since more than 18 years. Because I was a mother. I'm still a mother, but the child is now in Australia, far away. And I had time for the first time in my life for being alone for 4 months. And I thought about that. What is with all us who are having contact mostly about social media today? And I don't think if there's research about. I think it's not the same, but it's you're okay if you have enough contact about over the social media to other people, if you are communicating, discussing, and so on. Yeah.
I mean, there's a German researcher, Alzheimer researcher, who I heard on a radio program 2 years ago or so. And he had a book out that said exercise and social interactions.
Who was it?
I would have to look it up,
Okay.
or hopefully I could find it. Yeah.
Yes, they're both help. It's helpful, but it seems not to be. As exercise is more important than social interaction, but social interaction is a constitutional thing of humanity. So it's better. It seems to be healthy to stay in contact.
Okay.
Okay.
But I think, Martin, don't worry.
Oh, yeah.
As long as it's not lifelong.
Curiosity. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go to the integral thing now. But why integral? What changes the integral view?
It takes the illusion of monocausality. Most people are looking for one reason. Have I done this wrong? And then, or my husband always went on his exercises, or slept enough, or something else. And why did he has to experience this now? And it's and even in the professional field, caring and research, it seems so easy sometimes. And when I saw the quadrant model with the 4 quadrants, and I was not so experienced as today, but I had some knowledge about dementia, and I thought at that moment that you have to put it into there and show how complex this field is. And then I did my research, and it becomes more and more complex than I ever thought. And because if you take the quadrant model first and look for the lines, at first I had to define the entity. What I'm looking on? Is it dementia or Alzheimer's disease, or dementia in a person with dementia, or dementia in the community, in the society? Or there's so many. If you find there, and then I decided to say, okay, I take dementia as okay, yes, I take dementia as an entity on itself, and this is a short. Now we.
Yeah, I tried to screen share. It didn't work out. I try it again.
Okay. Yes, and I took it as an entity. I defined it as an entity and tried to make the perspective as wide as possible. And yes, and that is one part of my research in my master thesis. It seems very, very easy, but it shows a little bit the complexity, because these are the lines. These are always just some lines of dementia in every quadrant. And if you just see in the upper left quadrant the perceptions of dementia of all involved persons, and if you work in a residential care unit with so many people who have all different perceptions of dementia, and these perceptions define the form in which dementia appears in this group or in this realm or something. And there's so many things, and yet now you have just the lines, and if you go deeper in the integral theory, you can see a development in every line. You find in every line there's a development, and and there are different stages in every line, and then you have to be aware of the different types that could be there in this field. And then it's so complex that you know there can't be an easy answer, and there can't be easy solutions or very easy solutions, but they're so easy we can't see that at the moment, I think. Yeah. So that, I think it's enough for the moment, Heidi. Thank you.
Yeah, I just took it away. Yeah.
And that was for me what was my basic work. And I then did a lot of other work in the master thesis. I differentiated in the zones and yes, in the lines and so on. And I thought a lot of the 4 phases of truth. This is another slide, but we can have a look later. And when I worked,
I have the zones.
no,
now.
the last, I think the slide number 3 or 4.
Let me see this one.
Once more. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. This is just. I find it still very helpful. This concept of the 4 phases of truth. When you work with, I work with nurses. I help them finding good solutions for the people with dementia who are living in special care units, and these are often people with very difficult behaviors, and finding a good solution for 13 people with difficult behaviors in one group is a complex thing. And there's a lot of discussion about what is truth and what is questions of justice and so on. And if you are aware of these 4 phases of truth in this context, then you learn to differentiate more and more and help the people becoming more and more aware if it's a question of justice, of truth, or of authenticity in the upper left. And yes, that was for me very helpful, and is for me in my daily work very helpful to differentiate in this in these 4 phases. Yeah. But I don't know if I can explain it very good. Perhaps you have questions, but I think the slide is enough. Thank you. It's
Okay.
just one piece of my research. For me, it's very helpful. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
If there comes a wife of a man for whom we are caring, and he has feelings for another woman in this unit, and it's important to understand all the different levels of the people who are involved, and the difficulties to understanding dementia for this wife who is perhaps 90 years old or something else. And yeah, that's very helpful at that moment.
So this is an interesting case. So somebody who is dement,
yes,
is developing feelings for another woman, and
yes,
maybe forgets even his own wife.
yes,
and this is difficult to handle.
yes.
Wow. How are you doing this? How do you take care also for the caregivers of these patients?
We haven't the possibility. We have not. I work as a freelance consultant, so I have just a few hours in this nursing home, and the nurses haven't enough time. They try, and they do a good work, but we don't have time. It takes a lot of time, the care for these people, for the patients, and they're not enough. There's not enough staff, not because the German health system is organized with very few staff in these units.
So the people who could prevent to get dement by themselves because they are caring for a dement person, they don't get help unless they do therapy or something by themselves or
yes. it's difficult to get help. Yes, we try. We at some point I talk with relatives when I meet, or sometimes the staff ask me if I can stay with them and talk with them together with a relative. But we can't do therapy, and it's not easy to get a therapy in Germany. And most of these people are not that age that they are used to go to a therapist. So there are a lot of difficulties. Yes, and then now comes the levels. And first I worked with spiral dynamics. Now I switch a little bit to Terry O'Fallon's model, but I think spiral dynamics is very helpful. Still very helpful. I try to get a feeling where on which on which level they are. That sounds like for sometimes it sounds a little bit arrogant, but it's helpful. And most of them are on the blue level. The questions of morality, of right behavior, of shame. There's a lot of problem with shame. Shame for the relative, for the husband, for the wife. Who is behaving so terrible. Yeah. And it's important to give my explanations about dementia in a language for this level. And then comes the daughter. And the daughter is not on blue, she's on orange. And perhaps I have to speak with both, with the husband and the daughter. And then I have to find a language speaking that both can understand me. And then I go to the patient, and he's that's really interested. Since I knew these models, I can I know when a person with dementia has to change the caring unit in this nursing home, because her needs has changed. Most people with dementia start on a blue level. They experience the first weeks, months, years with dementia on a blue level. Some on orange, most on blue. And then they go back, but until they are on a blue level and they have that values and that needs of this level, they live well together with people who have no dementia, because it reduces shame. It's better for them for orientation. It's helpful for them. It's morality is an important topic for them, and we can yes, it's important for them to behave well, and there we have to unterstützen.
Support,
thank you. There we have to support them. And then when the regression goes on, they come normally really to in a red level, and then it's fight. They're fighting, and sometimes really with something we call aggressive behavior. It's not aggressive, it's mostly a defensive behavior. It's never or mostly not an aggressive behavior, but it's experienced as aggressive by the nurses or the relatives. Yeah, and then that's a long time, and then some. That's a very individual time. They like to stay alone. A lot of fight. And then it comes to a new regression, and then they come to a purple level. They develop needs and values on this purple. Did you say purple? Yes, I think purple. Yeah. This magic level, and then that's beautiful, because the people who were very separated for a long time suddenly came into the community. They want to sit together with the others, and at the large table. Years before, they always sat separated, and now they want to be together. And Yeah, and you can see that, and then regression goes on, and then comes beige. Yes, and
That's super interesting that normally you hear only the spiral from bottom up, and that this is a realization of a downward spiral.
Yeah, and that was my question first, and I did it in my master thesis. I worked it out because I said a model that says it is a model of everything, a theory of everything, has it has to be able not just to explain evolution, progression, but also regression. And that is, for me, the really important question for the integral community. How will we deal with regression in our community?
Yay.
Yay. Yeah. and the beauty of my work is to be able, and that is a wonderful thing of my own development work and of all the models I learned, to play the whole keyboard of dementia from beige up to turquoise, and we have to learn to play the whole keyboard. I have to be aware all these stages, and the values of the stages, and the needs of the stages, and the strategies we need, the communication skills and the communication needs. Once I had an assistant nurse who was in purple, really, and because I saw that, and we gave her some help. It was just some weeks, and she bloomed. It was, now she's red. Huh? But and most people say, the other people say, oh, that's so terrible. And I always say, oh, so beautiful. She's so healthy red at the moment. She's fighting for herself, for her needs, and that's beautiful, because then she can go on. And so it goes up and down at the same time in the same field. Yeah.
That's super interesting. I've never thought about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing I love about my work.
Yeah. And the question, if when somebody is in turquoise, let's say, if they really do, when they come to dementia, if they really go back one step after the other, or is there, that would be interesting. That's great research.
Think so. I think so.
Oh, I have learned something. I thank you for the moment. We still have some time. Do you want to go more in detail into these slides, or do you want to talk about something else or something more? I don't know, because I saw here one slide, I saw something which
you can.
Yeah, okay. Tell me which one.
I have a quick question.
Okay. Let me first know which one she wants, and so I can organize that.
I have two slides to this stages down and up. So we can take the first with colors. I don't know which is the first one, and then go to the second.
Okay, and I do that while Martin asks his question.
Sometimes people joke, about people with dementia.
Yes.
Maybe in front of them or otherwise. Can you say something about that? It's
unpolite. I'm very blue.
Yeah.
Yes, they are aware of that. There's
I mean, when we visited my grandmother, I mean, it was really hilarious often, and she didn't seem to notice when we were.
They notice.
They're not just amused, let's say.
They notice
about her. They notice.
They notice. If you are aware of the subtle level, or if you are aware of the causal level, they notice. And that is for me important. And to see the big developmental task in dementia care, I don't know if even research, but in care, is that most concepts for dementia care is written, or is a green. There is a green language, a green values. They're person-centered. Carl Rogers. Their concepts are all based on Carl Rogers' person-centered approach, and If you are really green, on a green level, you have green bellies, and then you can accompany a person with dementia, empathic and yes, loving. But we haven't enough people under that. And the question of laughing is that it's mostly a part of shadow, I think. If someone laughs about a person with dementia, it is that we have an outpass. We have it is if I can say it in terms of the zones, is a zone 2 perspective on someone, and you don't be empathic and you don't feel what the other is feeling, the person with dementia, but they experience, and there's a lot of shame, and the emotional the ability to experience on an emotional level, it stays very, very long. We are not sure how long. Mm-hmm. So no.
Laughing, so how do you deal with that when you observe that? How do you deal with that in your work when there are relatives or other people?
I correct. Mm-hmm. I educate. I learned to educate. When I came in this field, I was so green. That was a little bit mean green meme in myself. I said, oh no, I have just to explain them all that they have to be green. And I wasn't very, very helpful with that because no one is green. And I learned on a hard way sometimes to correct, to educate, to say, no, stop, that's wrong. Because the nurses are on a red, on a blue, or an orange level. The red one needs that I say, it's wrong, stop. The blue one needs a moral explanation. I have to explain it in these terms. And the orange loves the explanations about why a person with dementia can't understand that. And that's good. But I correct. Yes, I had to learn it. Was not what was not my first choice.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, yet now.
Shall we get to the slide?
Yes. That was yes. I wrote that for the IC, and if you are aware of the quadrant model, you have the zones. The quadrant, this is the upper left quadrant, and it's separated in the zone 1. It's the perception of dementia of everything from inside, and zone 2 is the perception of a personal experience from outside, and zone 1 is perception of dementia from inside. The people of dementia, no one else can experience dementia from inside than a person who is experiencing dementia. We, me, the nurses, you, we are not able to experience dementia from inside. We have another experience. And this is just an example for how the feeling of a person with dementia changes over the stages in zone 1. And on blue, there's something you can experience something like he's saying, oh, something changed. I know something, but I don't know really what it is. I feel ashamed. We have a lot of problems. We have a lot to do with ashamed people. What will the other think about me? That is, they're often worried about that. And no, I can't meet them any longer. They separate more and more. If the shame becomes too big, they are separating more and more. And then there comes a point of regression. They go into red, and then they became often very furious. What the hell is that? Why are they so stupid? I have changed. No, I'm fine. I'm totally fine. Stop that. And I'm so furious. And they're really, really furious. And they fight with their relatives and they fight with their nurses because they don't understand. And if you confront them daily what you have changed, then they become more and more furious. And it's our responsibility to stop that confrontation and being more loving, being more empathic. And then it comes to the next regression, and that's purple. And then they change, and they don't fight any longer. Mostly they don't fight any longer. And then comes something like, I don't understand. Where am I? Who are these people here? And I'm frightened. And they're looking at who's looking friendly. And then comes it to such experience that they say, oh, are you mommy? Mommy? Yeah. And this is... the difficulties change at that moment. Yeah. And the next slide, that is the perception of dementia from outside, and that are some examples how I experience people. And here I took red, blue, or it should be orange, and green. And on red, if I have relatives or nurses, they are fighting too. And they say they don't accept explanations about dementia. They say that it's just crazy. They are crazy, and they say they're doing it intentionally. And they try to educate people with dementia, and we can't. We have to educate the nurses or sometimes the relatives. When it comes to blue, blue says something like it's a real burden for us poor relatives, and there comes. I often hear something like it must be a punishment of God. By God, why does God is doing that to me? And I'm so embarrassed about the behavior of my husband, of my wife. And then it comes to orange. There's more that something like great burden for the economic systems, and we have to organize it very well. And what can we do? And are there better drugs and something else? And then comes green, and it's so terrible seeing these people suffering. I'm suffering with them. I have a lot of talking with people who are suffering with people with dementia. On the green level, have to support, to do a lot of support, that they learn not to suffer with the people they are caring for. Yeah, thank you.
Is it okay that I went out? Or
Okay,
good.
You can continue it up and down. Yes.
I think this was especially important to see. I realize that in zone 2, you said he's doing that intentionally, and then it comes in all people's homes to this abuse that they hit people and punish people and stuff like this. When you come out of this mindset, while when you come out of the green mindset, at the end you are destroyed because of your own suffering, because of them. So both might not be the right approach.
Yes. And we have a lot of victims on both sides. Patients and people with dementia and relatives.
Wow, that was very, very, very informative. I got a little bit more of an insight because, I'm getting older, but I never really thought about dementia in this sense, and this is good to get used to the idea, and also to your encouragement that when I forget the names or what I wanted to do when I go to the fridge, which I wanted to take out, that's not necessarily a sign for dementia.
Get more sleep.
That's what I'm doing normally. But I also recognize what you said when Mark was in the last weeks, and he had to get up every hour or even more to go to the loo, and normally I helped him. Very rarely I slept through it, but it was really heavy time, and that was only about 2 months or so. This very stressful. Every night.
I thought about you. You told me once. I thought about it. When I said that here, I thought about you. And
I imagine what that is when it is for years. I would get crazy. I mean, And what I find especially, how to say, catastrophic is when you say there is no help for the caregivers. That's
not
really,
enough. There is a little bit.
Yeah, but
the Alzheimer's company in Gesellschaft, was heißt society, the Alzheimer's society that tries, and yes, of course, a little bit, but not enough. No.
As long as you are at home and you are primary caregiver, is up to you. And who can afford somebody who is taking the night, paying attention at night on the patients? You know, it's really
that it comes.
Wow.
It mostly is. Yes.
Hopefully we don't get it. Make a commitment to train the mind, even if you say it's not necessarily the.
Training and learning and experiencing. It's very important. That is really important. But there are all. At the same time, there's new research. It says it makes no difference. So we don't know. We have no guarantee. Healthy lifestyle, that is really important, but you can't say it's a guarantee. And then I would need 1 hour more, because we have just experienced the manifest realm, and not really so subtle. What are we thinking about? And then the causal, the matter-aware realm. What are our constructs about dementia? And that becomes really interesting. That was just the basics.
Okay. I think most people will, as you said, see us from the upper right quadrant and are happy with the basics, and maybe not so much with when you talk about subtle and causal and who knows what that is. I mean, I'm a little bit, you know, I sort of do know what it is, but many people might not. So what we could do is do that extra and post it extra in a different video for people who want to know a little more about that. I would be interested in doing another show with that. Martin, you too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so because we are at the hour mark, so we stop and thank who has watched now, who will watch later, and ask your questions. Connect with Bettina. You find on the website thewisdomfactory.net/Bettina-Wichers. It is written Bettina. I think. Do people know how Bettina is written in English language?
With double T, it's important.
But they see it even when you pop up here, and then minus Wichers, Wichers, and you find her. You know, find her over the website. There are all this the information about her, how to reach her, and how there is also her master work. How do you say master thesis? You can look into that too. And we will have another show. So thank you very much, and see you next time.